to introduce our illustrious guest, State Representative.
Rob, thank you for taking the time with us today. I know you've got a lot of really important things that are going to be coming up in Tallahassee, and I know you'll be discussing it with us. Rob was born in Maryland and made his way here through some great college education, Penn State University, then got an MBA at the University of Florida. Upon showing up, he knew he wanted to be in politics. And you know why I know that? Because his first offices were with the Palm Beach County Soil and Water Conservation District. Now, you've all heard of that, haven't you? I mean, right? You actually have to campaign to get on that. But he has an abiding interest in environmental issues. His education brings him there. And he successfully got a seat in 2016 and got his chops for elections. Then he got to the city commission, where he became a vice mayor. And unfortunate circumstances, a beloved local individual, Joe Casello, passed away in office. And he then went on to campaign for that seat. And incredibly, he had a 60% majority. In this day and age, getting to 60% of the voters is not easy, and it can just tell you what kind of skills he has. Now comes the difficult part, Rob. So, I mean, I know you've done environmental work, and your first bill up in Tallahassee was related to, now help me here, polyfluoroalkyl. Am I anywhere close on that pronunciation?
I think it's polyfluoroalkyl substances. So you were close. We just call it PFAS. PFAS.
I am so glad. Now, for all of the rest of us, except for Rob, who actually knows this stuff, it's known as PFAS. Now, if you're an 8-year-old boy and somebody says PFAS, I know, I get it, but that's how it's known. You'll hear it on the news all the time. There's only one elected official who actually knows the real names. So that's my introduction. Please tell us about what's going on in Tallahassee. Thank you, Rob.
Well, that was an awesome intro, Michael. Thank you. It was very generous. If you ever want to come on the road with me, let me know.
Oh, I always like to go. Give me a microphone, kid.
So first of all, how long do I have to chat with you guys? I don't want to overstay my welcome here, so I can adjust my cadence accordingly.
Keep going. Come on.
No, as long as you want. You're our guest star.
Oh man. All right. Strap in, guys. So thank you for that awesome intro, Michael. So I actually thought I might have to do this call from the road today while driving home from Tallahassee. But we got out a little bit earlier than we anticipated. So I'm going to first kind of discuss what this week was all about. You guys may have seen some of it. It's kind of been in the national news. And then I'll quickly take you through what happened during the regular session, which ended about a month ago. And then I'll fill you in on what we still have to go back up there for, which I kind of alluded to earlier with Felicia. So this week was all about redistricting, congressional redistricting. A lot of folks think we're redistricting our own seats. We're not. The state legislature is part of the congressional redistricting process. It's been in the news because it's very controversial. A lot of you guys have probably seen this national sort of gerrymandering arms race that's happening in different states. That's what this was. The governor called for it. It made it through along party lines, as you would expect. It does net 4 additional Republican seats. Myself and the rest of the Democrats, we all protested it along multiple lines of we felt it was unlawful, that there's no reason to do it. It is typically redistricting is only done every 10 years with the census. This is what we call mid-census redistricting. We're only 5 years in. And there were no real legal reasons to do it. And the districts are objectively worse. That's a lot of what our protests were about. It splits up a lot of these districts now split up a lot of counties and cities. They split up twice as many cities as the existing map, including Delray Beach. So I live in South Delray. basically off of Linton and Congress, off of Germantown Road. I was in a congressional district in Lois Frankel's congressional district, which we have Felicia here representing for the entire time I've been in Delray Beach. But now I get moved into Jared Moskowitz district, which also gets combined with part of Fort Lauderdale and Miami-Dade, because it turns into this weird skinny district that goes along the coast. And so it's problematic, right? Because we should share congressional representation with our neighbors. And so that happened to a lot of us, a lot of different cities, unfortunately. So that's what this week was about. And when the governor called this, it moved around a couple times, and that was the main, point of this special session. He tacked on a couple other things at the end, which was an AI Bill of Rights, which right now DeSantis and Trump are kind of on opposite sides of, interestingly. And there was one that was for vaccine exemptions that was about allowing a lot of childhood vaccines to an additional exemption criteria for those. But when we gabbled in on Tuesday, the speaker announced that we weren't going to hear those two issues. We didn't know that going in. That's why we ended up getting out early, and I got to drive home yesterday. So we didn't end up hearing those two issues, but we didn't know till we got there. And so we just spent the last 3 days focused on this redistricting issue, which again has been very controversial, but it is what it is. It passed. It passed through both houses. I believe the governor's already signed it. It will for sure end up being a court situation. We don't know how that plays out, if this map gets temporarily adopted for the upcoming election cycle or not. That is yet to be seen. So stay tuned. There'll be lots of news and updates on that, and you'll probably hear from me additionally on that. I intend to get my newsletter out in the next few days to update everyone. So that was that. It was a very dramatic week, and that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. So back to regular session, which started on January 13th, ended on March 13th. And by the way, guys, the way this works, for those of you that don't know the process, is there's a regular session every year that's 60 days, and it alternates when it is. It started in January 13th this year. Next year, it'll start in March, and it goes for 60 days. And by the end of that, we're supposed to have a budget and be done. We did not end up agreeing on a budget this year. The House and Senate could not agree on a budget. There was about a $1.4 billion difference between the two, which means we have to come back to do budget conference, which we will be doing in May. So there's not always special sessions. There were last year, but that was the first time in a while we had a bunch of special sessions, and we're going to have a bunch this year. Just is what it is. We objectively have a pretty dysfunctional legislature right now. It just is what it is. The Speaker of the House and the Senate President don't get along. The Speaker of the House and the Governor don't get along. And so because of that, we've had a historically low amount of bills filed, and then a really low amount that actually passed through both chambers. I think there were about 1,900 bills filed. Less than 230 passed through both chambers this year. And the governor has signed some of them, but not that many yet. They're just kind of trickling through his office right now. He has till midsummer though to get them signed. But it is one of the least productive sessions in recent history. Last year was very unproductive, and this year's kind of even worse. Just is what it is. That's just what's happening right now because of a lot of different things. So I'm going to quickly run you through some of the bills that came through, and I pull this from the legislative updates that I give to all the cities that are in my district, which are Delray, Boynton Beach, Ocean Ridge, Gulfstream, Village of Gulf, and Briny Breezes. So, and I'm not gonna lie, a big theme this year was bills that do preempt a lot of local bills that go on that happen in our cities. So, I'll start out with some of the land use. One of the land use bills that came through, which is a pretty controversial bill called HB 399, which is Land Use and Development Regulations. Basically limits how local governments can regulate development by tightening rules around fees and compatibility in housing types. What it means at the city level is the city will have a little less flexibility to deny or condition development, and more projects can move forward by right. Some of that's good, some of it's bad. It's a complicated bill, and you've probably seen a lot on it. It's bad for home rule. It is good for some growth, but it does create some issues for cities. So I'm going to move on to a more of a land planning bill, which was HB 927. It requires a pre-application process and allows outside contractors to perform plan reviews, and it restricts additional local requirements. It kind of limits the city's control over its review process, but it would potentially allow projects to move faster with fewer local procedural hurdles. A lot of these bills, by the way, they sound good on paper. They eliminate some of these hurdles. It's good for business, but the problems are they expect cities to meet certain conditions, and they don't give cities additional resources to meet those conditions. As I haven't come from the city commission, I can tell you when these mandates come down, it's like, get these permits turned around faster. And it's like, we'd love to, we don't have the resources to do that. And so to me, some of these bills we call an unfunded mandate. When they tell you to do something, then they don't really give you the resources to do it. But it is what it is. There's good and bad in these bills. So here's another one. This one has more to do with local government finances. And it imposes new requirements on how local governments prepare, publish, and review budgets. So basically, it adds a state-mandated budget procedure and some transparency rules. It will increase workload for cities, but in reduce budgeting, it will add some transparency, I guess. So here's a big one that you probably know about, Michael, as an attorney. Anyone who's an attorney is probably aware of that. The FJA, the Florida Justice Association, was very involved with pushing this one. The cities don't love it, but I actually think was a good bill. And this was the sovereign immunity caps. This was HB 145, which raises the liability cap for claims against government entities. So cities will face a higher financial exposure in lawsuits. It basically, I think the sovereign immunity cap was like 200,000, and now it's like 300,000. It's not a huge increase. It hadn't been increased in like 20 years, and so we needed to do it. It's on the when I was at the city, and for instance, we had the incident with the Brightline and the fire truck. It was kind of a blessing that we had the immunity cap for the city because it capped how much we could be sued for. That's what the immunity cap means. But for victims of things that happen from the city, it does cap their ability to get damages. So that was raised slightly, and it wasn't raised to the point where it's going to bankrupt cities, but it does help the folks who are victims. So I do think that ended up being a good bill. It was one that I ended up supporting. So yeah, here's one that I was not a fan of, and this was Senate Bill 1134, which was what they called a DEI preemption. It prohibits local governments from funding or advancing DEI-related policies or programs. It removes local discretion over certain policies, requiring alignment with state restrictions. Now, the problem with this, even if you pull back from the political undertone of it, it was extremely vague. And we don't actually know what it applies to. For instance, we don't know if that applies to our St. Patrick's Day parade or our Christmas tree lighting. Anything that's considered a cultural event could be problematic, and there's really steep penalties. Literally, the commissioners who approve certain events that they say are a cultural event or a DEI event can be charged with malfeasance, which is a felony, and be removed from office. And so this is a tough bill, and I assume this one will also be met with litigation because we don't know how to implement it. And I am afraid it's going to have a chilling effect on a lot of the events that our cities are doing. I think this is going to officially be the last nail in the coffin for our Pride event, and probably could impact a lot of other events in Delray Beach. I'm sad to say. So that was a really bad bill. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, that's a bad bill because it's not clear what it does. And frankly, these events are good for our economies, right? They're good for our city economies to have these events. And if there's a chilling effect because people don't know, commissioners don't know if they're going to get in trouble for funding them, that impacts our economy, that impacts the culture of our city. So this is a bad bill, but we'll see how it gets implemented, right? There's always chances to come back next year and do what we call glitch bills and address some of the issues with these bills, some of the lack of clarity. A lot of times these bills they're kind of rammed through the system, and there's no real way to implement them. And so they have to be fixed. And so I'm hoping we have a chance to circle back to this bill and put some guardrails on it. Anyway, There was another one here that was a preemption and energy and climate policy. Preemption, it basically prevents local governments from adopting or enforcing greenhouse gas or net zero policies. We've seen similar bills before when Delray lost the ability to enforce our straw ban. This is similar. Any cities that want to have like a net zero policy and adopt like a fleet of electric vehicles or whatever, really can't do that now, unfortunately. So it's again another preemption that's not great for cities. So I'm gonna skip a couple of these. I'm gonna go to the good news now, which fortunately isn't quite as much, but I'm gonna go through it. So the one bill that I actually was able to pass on my own this session, I'm very proud of, is autism training for educators. It requires an annual autism-specific training for teachers and administrators, which will improve support for students and families, leading to better outcomes for students that are on the spectrum. So basically, teachers and administrators do continuing education every year. They have to go online and do it. This basically includes an autism credential in that's driven by the Centers for Autism and Related Disabilities centers, which are at one for public universities. FAU has one. University of Florida has one. FSU has one. Most of our public universities have what we call a card, and they will be driving that. And so basically, they'll be creating that curriculum for teachers. So it will be the most updated sort of science on autism and how it presents among students. The idea behind that, and the administrators have to take it too. So it's not just teachers. The idea is that autism presents in so many different ways that our teachers and administrators need to understand them so they can help the students better. Like when a student has an outburst or is going through a situation, if someone operating from an outdated sort of model may respond with disciplinary action, and that's maybe not the correct way to do it. So we believe that this is something that's going to really help students long term. So that was a bill I'm very proud of, and we were able to get it passed through both chambers. Still waiting on the governor's signature, but I don't think this is one he would veto, but you never know. And the other bill, Michael, that you referenced is one that I co-sponsored. That was the PFAS bill. And that has to do with removing PFAS that we talked about earlier. It's an acronym for like polyfluoroalkyl substances, is colloquially known as forever chemicals, because they stay in the environment forever. If they leach into the groundwater or whatever, it's almost impossible to remove them. And when they get into your body after we ingest them, and we do, you really can't get them out of your system, and they're linked to all kinds of issues and different cancers. And in fact, in Delray Beach, in our new water treatment facility, we are going to have nanofiltration technology that will really make us have some of the lowest PFAS levels in the state, I think, when that treatment facility is done, which is very exciting. And a lot of that funding, we got help from from Congresswoman Frankel but we also got funding from a class action settlement that the city was involved in from PFAS manufacturers. And we got, I think, $12 million settlement out of that. And all that money got put towards that new technology. Just so you understand, this is an issue that is impacting cities everywhere. So no one is probably more impacted by PFAS, though, than firefighters, because of the gear they train with. And they train with what they call triple F foam. And that foam is laden with PFAS, so much that it was actually outlawed federally, but there's so many stockpiles of it, it still ends up getting used in training until it all gets phased out. Many states have adopted regulations, though, to remove it from training so it no longer continues to contaminate the areas, the groundwater where they're doing these training, and injuring and harming our firefighters. And so that's what this bill was about. And what's cool about it is my predecessor, the late Joe Casello, who sadly passed away over the summer. This would have been Joe Casello's last year up there. He was terming out, and he passed away. I got elected during a special election and sort of finished out Joe's last year. Joe is a former firefighter, and I brought this PFAS language to him based on what some other states had passed way back in 2022. He immediately agreed that this was important, and he tried to get it passed back then and just couldn't get the support because I don't think people knew about it as much then. I was able to bring that language back this year in another bill, and then that bill was kind of adopted into a different bill. That's kind of how it goes up there sometimes. And that bill was, they put some additional language into it that deals with how to dispose of these PFAS chemicals. Anyway, we ended up naming it the Joe Casello Act, and it passed unanimously through both chambers, which was a great way to honor his legacy and pass a really meaningful bill. So that was one of the highlights of session for sure. And I'll leave you with one other positive bill before we talk about the upcoming special sessions, which impacts Delray, which is a coastal resiliency bill, which passed through both chambers. It directs the state to develop guidance and promote nature-based coastal protection solutions, which is something Delray is a leader in, by the way. It gives coastal cities more tools and alignment for resilience planning and funding opportunities. So that was a very positive bill that made it through. I always try and end with one of the good ones for folks whenever I'm talking about regular session. But that's just kind of a snapshot of the several hundred bills that passed. This is obviously very focused on sort of like the preemptive bills, because I think that's what's important to our cities to understand what's going to change here locally. So what's still left to do? Well, we don't have a budget yet, as I mentioned. There hasn't been a ton of success on that front. That's very much a leadership-driven process. Frankly, most of what happens in Tallahassee is leadership-driven, and where we're just the rank and file folks like me are kind of in the background, just doing what we can to move what we're trying to move. But at this point in the process, the budget's going to be decided by leadership. We will go up. We all have different committees we sit on. We'll be fighting to keep our appropriations in the final budget. I was only able to get a couple appropriations in this year because I came in so late. I actually missed the window to file them, but I had a couple other representatives file them for me, then transfer them to me. But one is for our American Legion 188C, post 188C in Delray Beach, which is the C stands for colored. It was the American Legion that basically after World War II, they wouldn't let Black veterans use the main Legion, and so they built their own. And that Legion fell into disrepair over the years. And very recently, we on the city commission gave that Legion back to the community because they presented a plan to revitalize it and make it back into a community hub. It was a really powerful moment. And so I filed an appropriation to help with that effort. And right now there's $100,000 in the budget for the American Legion post 188C. So I'm hoping that stays in the budget, because that would really get them a long way towards revitalizing what is a really important historic sort of place for the city. It's a meaningful cultural hub to have restored. So really excited about that prospect. And so we are going back up to do the budget. That has to get done. We get next week off, and then the last 3 weeks of May, we're supposed to be up there. Hopefully by the end of May, we've agreed on a budget. Then after that, property taxes. You've all heard about this idea of eliminating property taxes. Now that would be a ballot referendum. Whatever gets decided on would end up on the ballot, and that's something that folks would have to vote on, and it has to reach that 60% threshold, which for once I'm glad we have, because the version of this the House passed, I think, was very dangerous. It doesn't really have a plan for how to backfill those funds if we eliminate property taxes. So the Senate, though, has not taken this up yet. That's the interesting part. The governor has been pushing for it, but has also not presented a plan for it. So the only real plan on the books is the House's plan, and it's really not a plan. It doesn't explain how to implement it. It doesn't explain at all how to backfill the loss of those funds. As I'm sure most of you know, those funds are what fund our police fire, our infrastructure. It's what funds our city. It's the main revenue source for our cities and for our county. And so to take them away without a plan for how to replace them would kind of put our economy in free fall. So we'll see what happens there. It may not be effectuated into anything that goes to the ballot, or it could evolve into something more akin to expanding or increasing the homestead exemption, which would have its own impacts, but that's something that's much more reasonable. So we'll see what happens there, but we likely won't be addressing that till June or July. So that's kind of the main update. Happy. I don't know if you guys do questions on here, question and answer. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Absolutely. I did tell them that you would be available for questions, and
Yes,
Michael, of course, always has one. So I'll start with Michael, but definitely if you have a question, raise your hand or shout out.
Rob, it's always interesting to us. Things do get passed, but if you could describe the number of seats that are Republican held, the number of seats that are democratically held, and then how do you advance in that environment, and how do you guys get along? Because I think that would be interesting to us.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody realizes how it's tipped. And you're talking to a Republican, so I mean, I want to let people know it's not completely chaos, but go ahead.
It's very interesting, and I kind of learned this for the first time this year. So it is a Republican supermajority in both chambers, in the House and in the Senate. There's 120 House members. Only 34 of us are Democrats. Means we sit in the back 2 rows. And what I will tell you is it's extremely collegial. It's not like what you see about like Congress on TV, or I don't know what Congress is actually like, but it looks like everyone's just fighting and hates each other and no one talks to each other. Maybe it's not really like that, but at the House, it's not like that. We talk to each other. We're friendly. A lot of the members from both sides are very, very accommodating. You know, we have like a break room. We all hang out and eat lunch. I go out to dinner with folks. We do dinners that are like bipartisan. We all get along. It's interesting because having come from the city commission, things can often feel very personal. It's much less personal, right? And I will say that among the Republican rank and file, you get the impression a lot of them are sort of following orders, just because it's very leadership driven, right? There's a group at the top, like the speaker and the folks that are the chairs of the big committees. They kind of drive what's gonna be heard. So the reality is, when something makes it to a committee or to the floor, and by the way it works is if I file a bill, I can file 7 bills as a state rep. They assign committee stops to that bill, and it has to make it through each committee. It has to make it through the first committee to get to the second committee, to get to the third committee, and then has to pass all those committees to get to the floor. And the chairs of those committees have discretion on whether they want to agenda it or not. And so it's incumbent upon me to go meet with those chairs and try and convince them to get my bill on the agenda. All the chairs are Republican. There are no Democratic chairs of the committees or subcommittees. It's not how it works. And so I have to, if I'm not willing to go and work with these folks and edit my bill, or I had to edit my autism bill significantly to get it heard on its first committee. And then it passed unanimously on that one. And then the second committee, then I got it to the floor. We had to edit it again to match the Senate version. And so there's a lot of that. And if as a Democrat, I have to be someone who makes it very clear that I'm willing to work with folks. But Michael, the way I would put it, the way I describe it to people in terms of partisanship is, look at it like a Venn diagram, right? Like 2 circles, and then there's a little ellipsis in the middle where they overlap.
Go ahead.
the Republican circle, that entire circle is in play. That whole agenda is viable. For the Democrats, it's just that little ellipsis in the middle that's where we can operate, and that's just it. If you go in accepting that I have to focus on things that are bipartisan, or it's going to get nowhere. And it doesn't mean I can't speak my mind. I protested the redistricting, right? I vote no on the things I want to vote no on. And you don't really get punished for that as long as you still maintain decorum, as long as you still make it clear you want to work across the aisle. So there is room for Democrats to get things done. That there's a common notion that if you're a Democrat in Tallahassee, you're just a mascot. You're not doing anything. And I will say, I mean, I've been there just for a few months, and I was able to pass a bill, and I'm probably gonna be able to bring appropriations back. And there's a lot of other Democrats that do the same thing because they learn how to work within the system, and you can do it without selling out your values. You can. But it is very interesting. It's very collegial, but everything's already kind of baked in, right? Like nothing comes to the floor unless it's going to pass along party lines. That's just how it works. Folks, they have a very organized sort of process for that.
I'll make one quick observation because you've seen it. When you have city commission meetings, you're always performing in front of voters. You perform in front of them. They're staring at you from at least in Tallahassee. If anybody comes, they're upstairs. And for the most part, you don't have to do that. So I think it's interesting to all of us who are so used to city commission that they understand that it's just a completely different operating level. And I'm glad you're confirming what I hear from others, that there is an ability to get things done. So
yeah, no, for sure. And it's thank God there's some ability to. But listen, there's no shortage of pageantry in Tallahassee either. It's just different. It's just different. Like we had someone with a megaphone on the floor during this redistricting thing. It was awful. But like so things do happen, but you're very right, Michael. It's different, and we can talk to each other. That's a big thing, right? We don't have this, like sunshine doesn't apply to us. We can actually talk to each other before we get there, so we kind of know what's going to happen. Like when someone is going to, like if I'm on a committee I'm on, I'll get a text or a call from the representative a couple days before and be like, hey, my bill's going to be on your committee. Have you had a chance to look at it? If you have any questions, let's talk through it. And so people don't get ambushed. You're not talking about things for the first time in front of people. At the commission level, we had sunshine. And so the commissioners can't talk to each other. So they're hatching things out in real time while on display. So you end up with sort of this kabuki theater thing sometimes,
All right, Stephanie, let's see what everybody else has to say about this. We've got a lot of important issues.
Yes, well, we'll just open it up to the floor to see if somebody has a question for Rob. This is a great opportunity for you to talk to him. Rob, nobody wants to talk to you. What is going on?
It just means I really efficiently covered everything. Clearly.
Everyone gets shy for some reason on Zoom calls. I don't know why, because they'll be in your face if you're in person, I'm sure, every time anyone sees you.
That's fine. I look forward to seeing anyone, and I'm always happy to answer any questions that folks think of,
Is David on?
Yes.
On? David?
Yeah, I got a little question for Rob. Rob, you talked about the difference between the commission and the legislature. What about the difference between the chamber board and the legislature? Which is better managed? Stephanie left the room.
The chamber board? That's easy. With Stephanie in charge, it's always going to be whatever Stephanie's managing. It's going to be better.
Oh, brother. Anyway, you already have my vote. You don't have to do that. Anyway, so we have a lot of our partners on. Is anybody from like the CRA or the city or Felicia, anybody have a question for Rob while we have him? I know you're completely accessible to everyone, Rob, anyway, all the time. Okay.
Rob, what is your gut feeling on the homestead and the property tax? Do you have any idea where that really is going to go?
That's like the $1 billion question right now. No one really knows. I'll be honest with you. I'll be real blunt about it. I think the whole thing is a stunt. I think it's a lot of weird stuff's happening right now, the redistricting thing and this, because of 2026 election cycle. I think it's a stunt to drive turnout. You're saying, hey guys, do you want free property taxes? Turn out and vote for that. And it's going to be used as part of a messaging campaign to get people to show up to the polls. I think that's really what it's about. I don't know if it's designed to pass. And there'll be a lot of messaging on both sides of it. And I'll be honest, I've seen a lot of folks from the business community and talked to other chambers, including the Florida Chamber, including organizations like the AIF. They're scared because if you remove homestead property taxes, where's that? It's not a tax cut, it's a shift. Where does it shift to? It shifts to businesses. It shifts to commercial properties, right? I mean, you want to talk about how to destroy Delray's economy overnight? Make the rents more expensive downtown.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's game over. So no one wants this because it doesn't actually make sense on paper. Like no one's even attempted to do the math, which makes me think this isn't real, that it's just going to be an attempt to drive people out to the polls. And so I'm hoping that the Senate sort of has a cooler head on this and shifts this to more of a homestead thing, or just nothing happens. And I have heard that our incoming speaker, not our current speaker, Danny Perez, our incoming speaker, Sam Garrison, has made several quotes about not loving the idea of creating like donor counties and welfare counties, which is what this would do. So there has been like some comments that make me think that like this might not quite land the way we think. But I'll be honest with you, we thought the same thing about redistricting. All these polls came out and showed how unpopular it is, and we're like, maybe they bail on this, and they rammed it through. So that's why I'm always hesitant to be like, here's what's going to happen, because it really is up in the air. But I am hopeful that maybe at least the version of this that makes it to the ballot something we can live with. But I'm also hopeful that Floridians are smart enough to see that like this isn't.
I think it's a stunt too, but I think a lot of things going on up there proposed by the governor is a stunt for 2028.
Yeah, a lot of it is
vaccine thing with the schools. I mean, come on, even his party won't even go along with that.
I'm glad we didn't have to even get into it. Frankly, I'm glad that the speakers said we're not even going to do it, because that was a dicey issue. For sure. Dicey issue.
Christina?
Christina.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Listen, Palm Beach County has always been a donor state as long as I've been here for 25 years, so that ship has sailed. Secondly, what is your stand on this tax issue? This would destroy our cities. All the tax base would shift to my commercial properties, which would really hurt our city's economy. So where do you stand on it?
Well, I agree with you 100%. I'm firmly against it. Again, it's not even a plan, because they haven't rolled out any implementation plan, and there's no way to backfill these revenues. When we were on the floor, and many of us questioned this, because it did pass through the House, it just didn't go on the Senate side. A lot of us questioned it and asked very pointed questions, just mathematically, how is this going to work? And the only answers were sort of these weird platitudes about how cities can just tighten their budgets and stuff like that. And it's like, if I look at the cities in my district, even the smaller ones, especially, 90% of their revenue comes from homesteaded properties, like high numbers. So like those cities would have to unincorporate if this went through. They would have no revenue source. Even a city like Delray or Boynton Beach, I think, would collapse because they're going to lose more than half of their revenue. And they had no plan for how to make that up. You can't just push that on renters and on commercial properties. Most cities don't even have enough to make those numbers work. And you're just going to exasperate the affordable housing crisis that we have, which means we have nowhere for our service industry workers to live, nowhere for our first responders to live or our teachers to live, and onto commercial properties, like you said, Christina. And you're going to make it so already, how hard is it already for our businesses downtown to stay in the black, right? We already don't have enough of a lunch crowd to sustain these restaurants without them having to stay open all night, not all night, up until like 2 a.m. with like slinging drinks. So what's going to happen if we start increasing their rent? To me, I think we're playing a dangerous game of chicken with this. I think it threatens to destabilize the entire economy of the state, and it has not been well thought out. It's been rushed through, and this was all again started by the governor, and it's a political talking point. It's not a real policy. It has not been well thought out. And you want to talk about killing the golden goose in terms of Florida's economy. This is exactly how you do it. So, I'm not shy about being firmly against this. I think it's extremely dangerous. And like I said, when David asked, I do have some hope that this either evolves into something reasonable or it just dies altogether.
Thank you. We'll just talk loud up there, will you?
I will.
Thank you.
Great. Anybody else have a question while we have Rob here? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for joining us. You're always so accessible, as I said before, and we appreciate your representation.
Anything for you guys.
Thank you. We'll call on you again soon, I'm sure.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So, David, over to you for our partner reports.
Sure. Can we go to Felicia Goldstein? Because we haven't heard from her. I think she had to leave early last month. So is she still on?
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Here you are. You're on mute.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll give you just a quick update of what Rob just said regarding redistricting. Congresswoman felt very strongly that this was unreasonable, unfair, illegal, everything you can imagine. But here we are. And we have been, all of us are sitting in the middle of all new maps. I will tell you that if the maps remain the same and or the lawsuits aren't able to be heard in time to leave the districts as they are right now before the redistricting, the Congresswoman will be running in District 23. We started at 21.
Yeah.
We got redistricted soon after, went to 22. Now we'll be at 23, which has at least, if not more than 70% of our current district, with a few changes, which if that's our district, we will embrace and be there for all the cities and municipalities that we will be covering in Palm Beach County. It remains Palm Beach County district. That 23, the number 23, includes a lot of Delray, all of Boynton, which we've always had, all of Lake Worth, which we've always had. And so that's where we're at right now. We're going to see filing has been pushed back as it had to be. So qualifying for what district you're going to be in will be starting May 25th. We will put intentions in as soon as we know that there's no way that it can remain prior to the redistricting. It's just a ridiculous thing that's not supposed to happen. 5 more years until the next census. That's when it's supposed to be done. But as Rob said, not to repeat, and he's right, this is all about upcoming elections for the governor and him trying to show his alliance with the president, who's repeatedly called for this. The other thing I will just say also, just to give you, this has nothing to do with Delray, but it does have a lot to do with Delray. I don't know if anyone has seen Compass, which is our great LGBTQ plus organization in Lake Worth, just had a grant to repair their AC, which is not working, stopped because it's considered DEI. Unbelievable. My boss has been ranting about this now since last night. We are going to obviously work with the city and Compass to see what can be done. But just to keep in mind, there is absolutely no rhyme or reason that is a good rhyme or reason for what this state administration and for the federal government to do with issues like this. It's just, they should be non-starters. And the final thing that I will say is that the Congresswoman, when Rob was talking about how they function, just to let you know, the Congresswoman is the ranking member of a very large appropriations committee. The chair is Mario Diaz-Balart. It is probably the most bipartisan, friendly committee that there could be. And she and Mario go back to their state times in the state legend. They work very well together, as does really the entire committee. There are differences of opinions of how to get to a certain place and what we should be doing for soft power and USAID and things like that. But it is really, a lot of the political theater that you see on TV doesn't necessarily exist in every place. there is a big clash of differences of how to get there. And the people that remain to be loyal to the president will not budge on certain things, but there are plenty of other people who do work on bipartisan legislation. And I'm glad to say that Lois has been given very high marks for being one of those people. And that's all I got, as if that's not enough to wreck my whole week, but we move on.
Well, try and enjoy your weekend anyway, Felicia. Any questions for the Congresswoman's staff, Felicia Goldstein?
Oh, and just so you
Okay.
know, our office is in in District 23. So regardless, we will still be where we are on Atlantic and Haken Ranch. Our caseworkers are full-time. Anyone here who needs anything for a constituent of theirs or for a neighbor who lives in the district, feel free to give us a call. We are happy to help. We've so far this year brought back over $2 million to constituencies with casework.
Thank you. Chief Mazzio, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Good morning.
Mr. Long, thank you for sharing. Felicia, thank you. Both of them were good information. It's nice to not just watch the news and wonder what that means. So the property tax scares all of us, I think. Not really knowing, where our funds are going to go and, is that going to decrease our service that we can provide? Which, that's never the goal for any of us. But from fire, we don't have too much from last meeting. Got a couple new hires coming on board. I think we'll be up to staff here shortly, which is good for everyone, specifically the budget. But all in all, we're going good, and we're getting ready for hurricane season coming up next month, and getting the city on the same page. So if for some reason we have a hurricane or a storm, then we'll be fully prepared for it.
Thank you, Chief. Next, can we please hear from Renee Jadasingh from the CRA?
Great. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, Renee.
Hi, always happy to be here. So today I really want to focus on West Atlantic Avenue. We've had a couple exciting updates that have been happening. I think we previewed some of them at our last update we provided, but I just want to give a little bit more information based on our last board meeting. So as I'm sure you've heard, our board selected to consider an unsolicited proposal received from a developer to build a grocery store, commercial space, and parking on the Southwest 600 block of West Atlantic Avenue. So that process, yeah.
Which block?
I know.
Finally.
Southwest 600 block. So that process entails 2 public meetings, the first of which will be on May 13th at 5 p.m. at City Hall. And that's where the developer will make a presentation of the project, and the public has the opportunity to come in and comment. So if you would like to, please definitely come out to that meeting. That will be the time when we are receiving comments for this unsolicited proposal based on the statute. So it's a pretty set out process. So please look out for that. Our agenda goes out a week before the meeting. However, the proposal was on our March agenda. So if you go back to our website and look for the March agenda, you will see the unsolicited proposal there that provides the full details of what is being proposed on that block. And you'll be able to give your public comments on May 13th. He will address them in writing at some time after that. And then basically after we have a second meeting for the board to take a final vote, and then we would negotiate a contract if all of that is successful. So, we're really hopeful. We'll see what happens, but it is a good step forward that we've been having really good interest in those parcels on West Atlantic. And then switching over to the other vacant parcels that we have on West Atlantic, that's the Southwest 700 block of West Atlantic Avenue and the Southwest 800 block. And then going across the street to the Northwest 800 block. At our April board meeting, our board considered and reviewed a couple of requests for proposals that we have for mixed use developments on those blocks. So that's commercial, retail on the ground floor, and housing above. We are seeking some good mix of affordable and market rate. We're asking for at least 40%. 30-40% to be affordable workforce housing. So we really do want a healthy mix above what the city requires or allows for the density bonus. So there is also, again, an opportunity to comment on that. We're planning to issue the RFP in the coming months, but right now we're just going through the review process. We give a very detailed proposal of the, our overview of the proposal, or sorry, of the RFP at our last meeting, so you can take a listen to that. But the full draft RFP is available on our website for you to review before we issue it in the coming months. And those are all the updates that I have for you.
A lot of good work, Renee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Forrest, please.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Just a little bit of update of things that have happened. The city has formally issued a notice to proceed for construction of the water treatment plant. We're going to talk about that for a long time to come still. It's a completion timeline, has it completed in October of 28. So we'll keep you abreast of those things as they come along. Just some notable things. The city commission did not change its downtown parking issues at all. They left the employee pilot parking program in place, although we will bring it back and review it at least every 6 months and continue to watch how that's working. I can also tell you we have also just hired a new procurement director. Important thing there also is that we have made purchasing and procurement its own standalone department again. No longer is it a division of the finance department, but it is its own standalone department. We hope the new director, Paul Narcisse is his name. Paul comes to us, most recently was the procurement director in the city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Paul comes to us. We hope he'll kick our process up a notch, help us tighten up our process so that procurement takes a little shorter period of time. We can get our projects moving faster. Also wanted to let you know that, excuse me, we have signed contracts for an economic development positioning and targeting study, which will get underway very shortly. And then that'll be followed with a agreement that's also been signed for marketing efforts for the end results of that plan. The two companies putting those together are working together on that. So it's a seamless transition from plan to marketing, and that we'll be able to hit the ground running as soon as the plan is completed. The plan has a timeline somewhere probably of about 8 weeks. So we're going to move it fast and get it going. The commission and staff are anxious to get things moving and to start up an economic development program. We have not had a very strong economic development program for a while. I think this is going to kick us up on another notch on that. Just a quickie note, at the next meeting on May 5th, the city is going to adopt a proclamation, announce a recognizing small business month. We have asked our partners, including the chamber, the CRA, and the DDA, to participate in accepting that proclamation and trying to bring some attention to small businesses, knowing how much of our city's economy is built upon such businesses. So hopefully that'll be a nice a chance to make people aware of what those businesses mean to our city. Also on May 5th, there's a first of what will be a couple of budget workshops. This is the initial one, very high level kind of stuff. We're not getting into the details yet, but it'll cover fire, rescue, police, neighborhood and community services, and development services. So you'll have the opportunity to see exactly what we're thinking budget wise as we start to move forward into a lot more detailed cut to come in the future. One last thing I can also tell you on that May 5th agenda for approval also is a drone show. If you recall, we had a drone show last summer. It actually was very beneficial to our downtown businesses coming in the middle of the dead of summer. It worked out really well. Lots of families showed up for it. We've actually made it a little larger. We're going to close down Swinton for the show this year because of the way one views it. The field at Old School Square was not ideal, so a lot of people have gone out to the street, and for safety reasons, want to make sure we close in that people get a better view of the show. So that show will happen on July 29th, if approved. I don't see any reason why it won't be. So we'll give our businesses a little shot in the arm at that time, I hope. That's all I have.
That's good.
That's a lot. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
I'm going to move over to the next screen from you is Michael Corbett.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. We had a very successful skills trade job fair in Wellington yesterday, 150 job candidates with about 30 companies. We have a regional job fair with the Treasure Coast Workforce Board on May 13th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Indian River State College in Stewart. If you know anybody looking for work. And pertaining to Delray Beach, we are working with Horbiger, who is building a large production facility in West Delray on Atlantic and 441. This is a company that ran out of space in Pompano Beach. They purchased land in West Delray. They'll be hiring probably 200 to 300 people. They'll be moving people up from Pompano when they relocate, but this is a really good company. This is their North American headquarters in West Delray. And that's about all I have. If you have people looking for internships, again, internpalmbeach.com is for high school and college students to gain internships with local Palm Beach County companies. Thank you.
So David, we have Gustav from Discover the Palm Beaches. Gustav, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, and we appreciate all the work that Representative Long does. Before, when he was on the City Commission, he was on our Tourist Development Council board. So great work on our board, and I know he knows all the issues that relate to tourism that he can take to the state level. So a quick update on performance in the hotels within Delray. So for January through March, hotel occupancy averaged 89% for all 3 months in there, with an average rate of 425. It sold 5.9% more rooms. That's 108,000 rooms sold over those 3 months. And the room revenue was up 11.3%. So it's been an incredible season for Delray, for the county. So look forward to the summer being just as strong in growth with all the events that are happening throughout the summer. And the last thing I want to mention is next week on May 7th, we have our Travel Rally Day celebration. It's going to be at the Hilton at the airport, the PBI Hilton at 9 a.m. So it's on May 7th, and we hope to see you there. You can reach out to me if you want to RSVP. And that's concludes my update.
Gustav, why don't you mention your promotion?
Yes, I'm now heading up a department called Destination Technology. So it's still focusing on research, but now bringing in all the AI and the latest and greatest. We're going to enable tools within our organization and within the community that's just going to leverage all the data we have and empower everyone to make better decisions in real time.
That's great. So anybody else? Willie, do you have anything from Solid Waste Authority? I know you're always here. Nope. Okay. So just quickly recap from the chamber. We've got Nonprofit Council next week on Tuesday. We've got the grand opening of the Shake Shack. I know everyone wants to be at that. That's on May 6th at 10 a.m. So I would definitely recommend going to that. Our Focus on Women Sip and Share is on May 7th, and that's going to be at Pop Stroke. We're nearly sold out for that one. So you might have to join us at our summer soiree if you don't have a ticket for that already. Our new series of Board and Breakfast Power Hour is on May 13th. That's been very successful, especially to new members that are coming in to get to know our board members. And we have a power talk from a board member on a different subject every time. Our Health and Wellness Roundtable is May 14th. It's at the chamber. And this is the big important thing in terms of Small Biz Month is our Business Expo. That's May 19th at 5:30 p.m. at the Loft Hotel. It is free and open to the public, but you'll see 40 to 45 of our local businesses. Some of them are restaurants. They'll be giving out samples, which is really nice. And a lot of them will have like tchotchkes and great information from each of our small businesses. So definitely come out to that. It's free and open to the public on May 19th. And then we've got another grand opening at the French Florist. They're actually in Boca. And the YPAD Social will be at Deck 84 on May 27th. And upcoming First Friday Forums, Laura Simon, we'll hear from her on June 5th to talk about summer plans for the downtown. We have no meeting in July. It's Independence Day. August 7th, we'll be right in the middle of hurricane season. So we'll hear from Amy Kemp of FPL. and we'll be right in the middle of school starting on September 4th. So Erica Whitfield will be here for the Palm Beach County School District in September. And I'm hoping to get Wendy Sartori Link for October. I'm hoping to hear from our new commissioner, Judy Malika, as well. It would be great to hear from her. And Jeff Orris, I'm going to tap you to have the consultants that do that, the planning for us for economic development. We'd love to hear from them too soon. So that's all we've got today, unless anybody has something.
Yeah.
Oh, Caitlin has something from the clerk's office. I'm so sorry. Go right
No,
ahead.
that's okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Rep Wong, for speaking with us. I just wanted to highlight three very quick things. One is our clerk office hours are back. So what that entails, we have clerk representatives that go throughout different communities and provide residents with assistance like passport applications, appointments, property fraud alert, which I hope you all have heard about, protect your property. You can find court cases, learn about jury duty, get forms you need. So the first one is going to be next week on Friday in Riviera Beach. It's going to be held at the community center. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then the second thing, we're really promoting our West location branches. So out to Belle Glade, our Royal Palm location, they have a lot less wait times. There's free parking and just more availability. So, not everyone has to come down to the main branch. So we're just trying to really push less traffic, free parking. And the last thing is our fiscal year 2025 checks and balances. It's our very popular PAFR. It is a breakdown of all the county funding, investment portfolios, the county budget, expenses. That is officially available as of today. And you can go on our website and find a digital copy. It's very easy to understand. So if you're interested in looking, please visit mypalmbeachclerk.com and let me know if you need anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. She's from the clerk of the circuit court of Palm Beach County. And so we heard from her boss, Mike Caruso, recently. So thank you so much for chiming in there. I'll make sure to get you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's all we have, everyone. I think I gave you the update for upcoming events, and we'll see you on June 5th with Laura Simon of the DDA. Thanks for tuning in today. Bye.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Everybody,
Thank you.
have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.